What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. So let's talk about Lord Jamar. Lord Jamar, Lord Jamar, Lord Jamar. Where do I begin? He is now playing victim and acting like Godfrey is a setup artist. And Godfrey set him up in a debate, when he came onto his podcast. So let me just give y'all some background information. Lord Jamar is a flat earther. He believes the earth is flat. He's been saying it for a while now. And he came on Godfrey's podcast some months ago. And he was speaking about, he came on Godfrey's podcast, the In Godfrey We Trust podcast. The podcast that Godfrey has is called In Godfrey We Trust. In Godfrey we Trust, right? So he went on Godfrey's podcast and he was talking about, how the earth is flat. And he would be willing to debate anybody. I'm talking about, he was talking King Kong shit. I'm beating his chest, talking about how he would debate Neil deGrasse Tyson, to the ground, how he would debate him like crazy and debunk all of his, theories about the earth being round. And he would, prove that the earth was flat to Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? He started going on these tangents. I'm talking about, like Lord Jamar was talking about, he would talking like he was a scientist and talking as if like anybody they brought up to debate him, he would smoke them in a debate. Right? So, all right, Godfrey and Dante Nero, a co-host for Godfrey on Godfrey's podcast, he tried to reach out to Neil deGrasse Tyson and try to see if he can get Neil deGrasse Tyson and Lord Jamar to debate each other. He wasn't able to get Neil deGrasse Tyson, so he got an intellectual by the name of Professor Dave. Professor Dave is very well versed on science, on all of that. He has a YouTube channel and all of that is very popular. I think Dave got 3.5 million subscribers, right? Like his channel is like popping. So Godfrey comes back on the Lord Jamar comes back on the In Godfrey We Trust podcast. And when he comes onto the podcast, when Lord Jamar comes back on the podcast, they have Professor Dave on the podcast ready to debate Lord Jamar. So Professor Dave and Lord Jamar started debating, and Professor Dave starts laying out his points as Lord Jamar is trying to intervene and interject and try to say what he says. Professor Dave is debunking every single thing that Lord Jamar is saying. And Lord Jamar can't handle it. He's getting embarrassed. He's getting humiliated like crazy. And so he starts insulting Professor Dave. Well, Professor Dave said some things to him as well first, because before Professor Dave came onto the platform, Lord Jamar was trash and calling him all type of names, calling him all whatever type of names. Professor Dave heard Lord Jamar talking about him crazy, and he came on with the energy like, okay, you think you calling me all type of names? Let's prove to you how your take that the earth is flat is silly, and how it's idiotic to believe that, right? Because Lord Jamar was talking crazy about him, before he came on. I guess he thought Professor Dave didn't hear him, but he heard him, and he like, okay, I took exception to that because you were talking crazy to start off about me, so let's go ahead and debate each other. Professor Dave, again, humiliates him like crazy, and truthfully, Godfrey saved Lord Jamar. He ended the video. He literally kicked Professor Dave off of the platform to save Lord Jamar from being further embarrassed, right? So then after the situation happened, everybody is reacting to the video and Lord Jamar is getting clowned, and Lord Jamar can't handle it. So Lord Jamar goes on his podcast. Lord Jamar has his podcast called the God Pod with Lord Jamar. And he's talking about the situation, and, he has subscribers that are, he's on a live stream, and his subscribers are shooting questions to him, right? Or just making comments. And one of the comments says, I think Godfrey set you up because he knew it would go viral. To that, Lord Jamar responds and says, yes, people are very desperate for attention and they want to get their thing popping. And it's a shame that people you thought you could trust would sell you out for a couple of views. Well, congratulations. I hope you're happy. And then he starts to go on and say that wasn't a debate. That was a setup. Nobody was neutral. Everybody in that room was in on some ish. You know, they were in on it. You know, they conspired against me. All of this talking. I'm like, yo, now you want to play this victim route. So here's the problem with Lord Jamar. Lord Jamar, like a lot of other men who I have encountered, they have a hard time. He has a hard time admitting when he's wrong. He has a hard time admitting when he's wrong. He don't know how to say, man, I was wrong about that. I wasn't informed enough. You corrected me. I'll take that L. He want to go out he want to go down swinging, no matter if what he's saying is a whole bunch of BS, no matter if what he's saying don't make sense. So, and this is the thing with me. And listen to me when I say this. I can agree with a person on some things that they say. I can strongly agree with them on things that they say, and then strongly disagree with them on other things that they say. I strongly agree with things that Lord Jamar says, and I strongly disagree with a lot of things he says. I agree with him. I agree with Lord Jamar when he discusses the origins of hip hop lying with black Americans. I agree with him when he says the origins of hip hop lie with black American people, right? I agree with him in regards to certain conversations around Eminem that he's had. I agree with certain things he said about Eminem and Eminem's popularity and rise to fame, etc. I've expressed that on this channel for you all to see. However, I disagree with him, when, his staunch Trump supporting, Donald Trump supporting, I disagree with him when he says the earth is flat. You know what I mean? And matter of fact, I remember when Lord Jamar was having a conversation with Dr. Umar. And while I agree with a lot of things that Dr. Umar says, I also agreed with Lord Jamar questioning him and asking him what's taking so long to build the school. I believe the school should have been up and running by now. I agreed with Lord Jamar when he said that, right? But my point in saying this is just because I agree with you on some things does not mean I have to agree with you on everything else, on everything that you say. And that's the problem with a lot of people, especially my people, my black folks. When we agree with you on certain stances, on certain pro-black stances, a lot of times we feel like we got to agree with you on everything. And yes, I agree with certain stances that Lord Jamar has made as far as, hip hop lying with black American people and all of that. But I don't agree with a lot of other stuff that he said before, especially his strong Trump support and even the earth being flat. I don't agree with that, right, at all. And my thing with this is that Lord Jamar can't sit in here and try to play victim now. Nobody set you up. Nobody tried to put you in a corner. You were going on platforms saying that you would smoke anybody in a debate about the earth being round. You know what I mean? You like, yo, the earth is flat. You was going out saying that the earth was flat, it's flat, it's flat. And you were saying you would smoke anybody, right? And then when you got into a conversation with an intellectual, you realized you were in trouble and you got humiliated. That's your fault. That's not Godfrey's fault. Nobody set you up. You was beating your chest, selling wolf tickets that you fell short on. You got to take that L. That ain't Godfrey's fault. And then those who don't know, him and Godfrey used to be on he used to have Godfrey as a regular on the God pod. The God, Lord Jamar would have Godfrey on as a regular with Rod Digger, right? And so now because you got embarrassed, you trying to point the finger at Godfrey? No. You was talking like you were gung-ho, rah-rah. And they're like, yo, let's set up the debate. Let's set the debate up because you were trying to you can get anybody to debate me. Go get them. And when they went to go get somebody on the podcast, you got embarrassed. You listen, Godfrey tried to save your image and reputation. He took the video down off of his platform. He initially took the video down off of his platform as you asked him to save you. So wasn't nobody trying to conspire against you. He initially took the video down to save you. He kicked Professor Dave off of the platform to save you from being humiliated further. And now you trying to blame him for how you was looking. No, you looked foolish. You looked silly because you talk a lot. Sometimes you talk about stuff that you don't have any idea about sometimes. You know what I mean? You say things that say, even though I agree with certain things you say, on the other hand, certain things you are not equipped to have conversations about. You are ill-informed and you're not, I'm not saying you're not an educated man, but I'm saying you're not educated on certain topics the way you think you are, and then you walked yourself into a corner, and that's what happened. Professor Dave was debunking everything you were saying. You couldn't handle it, so you started to resort to trying to threaten him with physical violence because you knew you was getting smoked in that debate, man. He made you look silly, but that's your fault. That's your fault. You know what I mean? So it ain't Godfrey's fault you look foolish at all. None of that. You started off, when you came on a podcast to debate Professor Dave, you started off talking shit. You was talking heavy. And Godfrey let the both of y'all talk heavy to each other. Godfrey didn't come in and just start telling him, hey, kill him. He wasn't egging on Professor Dave. No, he cut Professor Dave off to save you, kicked him off of the platform just so you can have your dignity, you know, and took the video down so you can have your dignity and be able to rock out in peace, you know? And so all of this, they set me up, they were conspiring against you. No, this is your own fault. And then to say Godfrey he using you for views and all, like, come on, man. Godfrey is a popping comedian, man. He not on the level of a Kevin Hart, but he's a successful comedian, very successful. People enjoy his comedy. People enjoy his impressions, all of that. So he don't got to do that to get no views for real. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. And I don't think he would do that to you, knowing that y'all had a relationship with each other, friendship with each other. He like, yo, he was strong. He was confident in your debate skills because you made it seem like you could debate anybody on that topic. When you came in there, nobody knew you was going to fall short like that. A lot of people did. But you know, he maybe didn't know that. But that ain't his fault. That ain't his fault, man. All of that, don't be crying now. Don't be crying now because Dave made you look silly. Professor Dave made you look silly, man. You know, he in there talking about something. That wasn't a debate. That was a setup. No, it wasn't no setup. There wasn't no setup. You bit off more than you could chew, right? And you played yourself. So you got to look in the mirror and handle that. You know, for thinking that you just gonna smoke everybody and Neil deGrasse Tyson, all of that shit. You're lucky Neil deGrasse Tyson didn't come on there with you, because it might have been worse. It might have been worse. You know what I'm saying? And so then he on a video telling Professor Dave, you got your 5 minutes of fame. And I'm like, dude is like at 3.5 million subscribers. So what fame do he really need from this whole situation? You know, but that's Lord Jamar thinking he know everything and thinking he just the all-seeing eye on every single thing. And yes, even though I agree with him on certain things, there are certain things he don't know about. And you can tell when he has conversations about certain topics, when he has conversations about his Trump support and all of that, you can tell certain things he's not equipped to have certain conversations about certain things. You know, and when he starts talking about the earth being flat, yo, you walked yourself in a corner, and that's on you. That's on you. So don't be crying at Godfrey. What my man what Huey Freeman say on the episode of the Boondocks, a Huey Freeman Christmas, he said, don't be looking at Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones ain't gonna help you. Don't be looking at Godfrey. Don't be looking at Godfrey, because Godfrey didn't do this to you. Go stand in the mirror, look at yourself and say, I did this to myself. All right, Lord Jamar, peace.